Why the hell haven't I read these books yet? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Theo. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I have a really quick one for you guys today. It's the Why Haven't I Read These Books tag. I'll go ahead and put in the description the original video and maybe kind of where the idea originally came from. I think there's two creators that kind of started this, and I wasn't tagged in this one, but I saw a video like this going around on a couple channels and I thought, you know what, that one's quite interesting. There's only 5 questions. I thought it would be fun to do, talk about some of the books that I have not yet read and I don't really know why. The first one is a classic book that I haven't read yet, and this one is an easy pick for me. This one is a lot of people's favorite book. A couple friends of mine who, when they read this book, they said it was their favorite or top read of that year. A lot of people say it's their favorite book of all time, including a really good friend of mine, and that is The Count of Monte Cristo. I don't even have a copy of this book. I don't understand why. It's the next classic that I want to read. This one is a little bit intimidating for me. I haven't picked this one up or reached for it in the past because of how long it is. I think it's over 1,000 pages. It's a really long book, but I've heard that it's one of the best books ever written. I hear it is the quintessential revenge tale. If you like a revenge story, this is probably the one that you would enjoy. And so yeah, for me, as a classic book that I have not read yet and I can't understand why, well, I understand why, but I think I'm going to try and prioritize it. That definitely is The Count of Monte Cristo. The next one is a fiction book that I haven't read yet. And fiction, I'm going to take to mean general literary fiction, contemporary fiction, that sort of thing. So for this, I'm going to have to go to my boy, Frederick Bachman. I don't know why I haven't picked up Anxious People or Beartown. These ones I want to, have them on the shelf. I haven't reached for them, but they're on the shelf, and I don't know why I haven't picked these up yet. I really liked A Man Called Uva. It's one of my favorite books of all time, or at least that I read in the last few years, and I enjoy his writing. He just has a way of talking about the human experience that's just very special. I think his writing is really well done. The translation, because they're not written in English natively, so the English translations are quite beautiful in and of themselves, and I just really like his writing. So I want to read more from this author. I want to read I think I want to read all of his books. Frederick Bachman's going to be one that I'll continue to follow. He puts something out, I definitely want to pick it up. And these ones, for some reason, I haven't read yet. So Frederick Bachman. So the next one is a non-fiction book you have not read yet. This one is kind of interesting because I have a set with 2 books in it, and I started reading, these were actually gifted to me, and I started reading the first one and I got quite far into it and I got distracted. I got tied up with stuff, busy, whatever. Nonfiction can be a little bit dry sometimes, but I thought this book was excellent. I really enjoyed it. I was enjoying my time with it, and I was so interested in the topic matter, but for some reason I just ended up not finishing it. And that first book is the Sapiens book by Yuval Noah Harari. And the next book is, what is it called? Homo Deus. And so I have this 2-book set. I don't know why I didn't finish it. Like I said, I was really enjoying it. Some people say it's kind of dry. I actually didn't think so. I really enjoyed it. I just got tied up with stuff. And you get too far into a book where you don't really want to restart it. And then you get too far and then you spend too much time where you're like, well, now I can't just finish it. I kind of have to reread it. So it was all about making time to go back and reread this, and I just didn't. So I think this is going to be my next non-fiction read. I'm going to start right back up with Sapiens and then go into Homo Deus because I really enjoyed this guy's writing, the subject, the way he talks about just civilization and how we've evolved and kind of just how the world is the way it is was fascinating. And so I want to go back and read these. So for non-fiction, this is my pick. The next prompt is a genre book. And what I've taken that to mean is a book from a specific genre that you haven't read yet. And that's kind of what I've seen people answer this as. So for me, this one fits the horror category. This one fits the fantasy category. You can argue about that maybe, but this one fits a couple different genres as well as kind of just speculative fiction. And that is The Stand by Stephen King. I don't really know why I haven't read this one yet. I actually started this one on audio. It is like a 60-hour audiobook, and I started this years ago when I was commuting. I think I stopped it when I stopped commuting. I got probably halfway through. It is a bit of a, like I said, it's a long book, but it's also a little bit, a little bit meandering in the middle. I think from what I can remember, it does take its time and it develops a lot of characters, and that's what this book apparently does really well. But I wasn't in the mood for that. I didn't quite have the time for it at the time. So yeah, this is one that I want to circle back to. I can't believe I haven't read it. I'm embarrassed to tell people when I haven't read The Stand, but I've read other Stephen King books, and the fact that I enjoy Stephen King and I haven't got back to this one. So again, this one can fit, you know, horror, speculative fiction, even a little bit of fantasy. People that have read it, I think would back me up that this could be considered a little bit of fantasy as well. So not sure why, haven't read it, on the list, on the shelf, on the priority list, and The Stand by Stephen King. The final prompt is a book that you've owned for the longest time that you have not read yet. This one is a trilogy that I haven't read. It can be considered one book. It often is bound up into one book. I've owned several copies of this book, this series, over the years, and for the life of me, I don't understand why I haven't read it. I read The Hobbit, but I have not read The Lord of the Rings. So this is one that, going back to when I was a kid, I've always kind of had a copy of The Lord of the Rings, and I read The Hobbit. I'm even pretty sure that I read a little bit of the first book, Fellowship of the Ring. I don't even know what it's called, but I don't know why I haven't continued with them. I think it was because, you know, The Hobbit was more targeted for a younger audience, I think, and I maybe vibed with that one okay. And maybe I was too young to start reading The Lord of the Rings because the writing is a little antiquated. And although Tolkien is kind of a master, and one of the reasons that we even have fantasy literature, you know, even though he didn't invent it necessarily, but he's the one who really paved the way for the fantasy we have now. It was written a long time ago, and I think it kind of, you know, you can tell when you read it, and it can be a little bit tough to get into from what I understand. So maybe that's why it didn't work for me in the past, and I've just kind of put it off. But when I saw this copy of The Lord of the Rings, it has beautiful maps inside of it. It has beautiful sprayed edges. It has illustrations from Tolkien himself in this edition. I'm like, I have to read this. So I bought this copy. I don't think I would reread The Hobbit, but I would jump right into the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I was hoping to read this before the Rings of Power show comes out. From what I've heard, just the media that I've seen on it, I don't think that I'll be missing much with the Rings of Power. And I don't even think that they're going to be as connected as I thought they would be. So no rush. I think I'm going to try to fit this one in before the end of the year, but it looks like it'll be the tail end of the year. So Lord of the Rings, I've owned it basically since I was a kid in various states and various editions, and I don't know why I haven't read them yet, but here we are, and I have this beautiful copy, so there's no excuse. I'll be reading this at some point soon. So that's it, guys. Just a quick little tag video to kind of, you know, remember a few of these books that I, for some reason, haven't got to yet, and reinvigorate a little bit of my excitement to get to these ones finally. I am going to tag a few people. I'm just going to tag the boys from the Discord, RJ, Baron, and Alex. You guys are down below. Go ahead. I'd be curious to see your answers on these ones. If you see this video and you'd like to do it, consider yourself tagged. And that's it. Quick and easy. I'll catch you guys on the next one.